Let's take a look at Acceptable Use Policy, or AUP. The purpose of this presentation is to cover what is an AUP and why it is needed. Where can the AUP for teachers and students be found? How it should be communicated to staff, how it can be implemented in the classroom, and how teachers can ensure that they follow the AUP, thus abiding by ethical practices. In talking to most teachers at our school, I realized that most of them did not know the term acceptable use policy. However, most employees were following the guidelines in the AUP without even realizing it. So then, what is an AUP and why do school districts have them? An acceptable use policy is a written agreement that all parties, in our case the school district and or schools, they promise to adhere to for the common good. An AUP defines the intended uses of the network, including acceptable uses and the consequences for non-compliance. According to Flowers and Rakes 2000, as K-12 schools across the United States are being connected to the internet, issues and concerns surrounding access and use by students and teachers are surfacing, and these must be acknowledged and addressed. Hence, there's a need for AUPs. So where can we find AUPs for teachers and students? First of all, I've provided two links here, one for teachers, one for students, but you could also just type in the keywords PGCPS Acceptable Use Policy or CMIT Google Chromebook Agreement, and you'll be able to find these documents online. For the next few minutes, I'm actually going to take a look at these documents and see what is actually covered. I've already downloaded the students acceptable use policy, and the main features of this policy is that the school understands the importance of technology in education, and for that reason they try very hard to ensure that the students have the appropriate technology. The guidelines are clearly listed, but at the end of the document, the students are required to pledge that they will follow the guidelines. And if you look here, it says student pledge for the Google Chromebook. But you'll notice too that at the end of each page, students are expected to initial, and their parents are also expected to initial. And this document is returned to the school before students are allowed to use the technology. I've also downloaded the guidelines for Prince George's County teachers. This is an administrative document. I'm just going to take a few minutes to review some of the main features. The purpose of this document that is highlighted here for us is to ensure that all users, which include staff, administrators, and students, follow the established practices and procedures that relates to technology, that they use these in a productive and responsible manner. If you look at the section here that says policy, you'll notice that it says that all students are to use the computing devices, printers, etc. for educational purposes only, and all employees are expected to use it for administrative purposes only. The background is given there, and the background just provides further information on who and how the information or the technology should be used. The general procedures is very important, and I'm just going to go to highlight some of these procedures for us. For example, if you look at procedure C, it says that all users are to log off the system before they leave their workstation. D says all users are prohibited from sharing account or passwords with each other. Point G is very important. Only approved software may be installed on the county's network. If you look at point I. Point I says no student should be given administrative rights or administrative passwords. And then here in point L, it says that students or employee information must always be secured and reside on approved school equipment. Point number M says that students may only access information that they are authorized to use and need for assignment and other school-related activity. The next section of the AUP is the technology acceptable uses. And of course, we're very familiar with this already. It says that we should, 1, protect private information such as addresses, phone numbers, or passwords. We should respect copyright laws, and that the devices should only be used for their intended purposes. What are the prohibitions? The prohibitions are listed here for us, and they include avoiding damaging computer devices, computer systems, or network. Point number 3, trespassing in another person's file. Very important, using the network for commercial purpose is also prohibited. On the next page, we are told here in section 5 not to display any logo of any commercial entity other than our school district, Prince George's County. If you look at the first sentence in bullet point number 8, it says accessing or linking to websites that contain material deemed vulgar or offensive is prohibited. And bullet point number 9 makes a similar point. Any material that is considered inappropriate, that should also be avoided. Point number 11 reminds us that we should not do anything that misrepresents the county or school district in any way. Point number 12 reminds us that we should not use the network for any illegal activity, including violations of copyright or the licenses or contracts. And point number 13 says that we should not use the technology for chat lines or chat rooms that are not part of our class or regular work. This is a very interesting one. Point number 15 mentions that we should not post any anonymous messages. That one I was not aware of before. Point number 20 says that we should not identify ourselves or misrepresent ourselves on the website, and that we should not use any other person's password or use or steal intellectual property or data or equipment. What are the consequences? These are mentioned for us in the next section. Consequences. Let's just back up a little bit. Consequences may include immediate suspension of equipment access. It may include disciplinary action. It may be a letter of remand, arrest, or additional disciplinary action, and it all depends on the violation and the severity of the infraction. The web acceptable uses are again mentioned for us, and I think point number 1 summarizes the most important things. We should use a website to improve communications and services of the school or office with students, staff, parents, and the entire community of Prince George's County Public Schools. That is what is really acceptable, and we should follow that guideline. Section E mentions the fact that there is a protocol for reporting inappropriate use of the network or website. If we believe that there has been a violation of these guidelines, we're expected to either students contact a teacher or we contact our administrator or supervisor. If there's any doubt, always ask or refer the matter. The last section of the AUP pretty much says how the maintenance and update of this administrative procedure or AUP will be done. Any cancellations or supersedures are mentioned there, and the effective date of this document, which is September 1, 2013, is mentioned there. So that pretty much is the guidelines that we follow as teachers here at Chesapeake Math and IT Academy. In conclusion, how should the AUP be communicated to staff, students, and parents? How can it be implemented in the classroom? And how can we ensure that we're following ethical practices? Well, staff were aware of the general rules for the use of the technology, but they didn't actually know the phrase acceptable use. AUP should be reviewed with all new hires. All other staff members should have the policy reviewed at the start of each school year. And I think it would be a great idea to have staff sign that they have seen and accept the terms of the agreement, just as students are doing. There's a great program for the students and parents in place. They actually take the document home, they read it, they initial each page to show that they are in agreement with it. Some guidelines that can be followed in the classroom. Teachers should ensure that the students are always supervised. Any violation should be reported to the administrators. Keep food and drink away from all devices to protect them. And proper etiquette should always be observed when it comes to use of the technology. Sites that sell term papers, book reports, etc. are strictly prohibited, and there are a lot more that are actually found in the full document. How can we encourage digital citizenship? According to the IST technology standards, we can advocate, model, teach safe, legal, and ethical use of digital information and technology, including respect for copyright, intellectual property, and the appropriate documentation of sources. We're also encouraged to promote and model digital etiquette and responsible social interactions related to the use of technology and information. As teachers, we should not use school devices for personal activities, follow copyright laws, follow proper behaviors or rules for communication, and we should only access information we are authorized to do. Student information should also be protected and not abused. Here you can find references to one of the research papers that I've included in my document, and also the link for the IST standards for teachers are also provided. Thank you, and I hope you have benefited from this presentation on acceptable use policies, AUP.